Hello there, everyone. My name's Carl. I run the NissanPath.com, the largest Nissan Pathfinder owners forum on the internet and in the world. And today, this video is going to be looking at installation of a cold air intake on my V8 2008 Nissan Pathfinder. It's from a company called Volant, and after doing a bunch of research for a while, I decided to go for this one. It usually sells for $200 to $300 online at various places. You can Google to find the best cost for it. And the reason why I chose it is because it doesn't just replace the air box itself or replace the filter element with a air horn or that kind of thing. It actually replaces the entire intake tube all the way from the throttle body to the air box with a nice, what looks like, from the pictures at least, a very nice, smooth, well molded plastic replacement part. And then a huge air cleaner with something that Volant calls a Powercore air filter, which is this massive air filter with many pleats. And they say it's good for 100,000 miles. I don't know how realistic that is, but what we're going to be testing today is doing miles per gallon testing to see if that gets improved by installing the Volant Cold-Air-Intake, and also horsepower improvement. I've got a little G-Tech style application on my smartphone, so hopefully we can at least do some before and after comparisons for 0 to 60, quarter mile time, that kind of stuff, and hopefully we get some improvement in both miles per gallon and in power delivered. But for now, go ahead and hang on. We're going to do our kind of long miles per gallon run. I got a kind of a route that I can reproduce easily, and it's first thing in the morning here on Saturday, and we're going to go driving around and then do the exact same pattern tomorrow morning. Again, first thing in the morning, no traffic, no wind, so that we can compare exactly apples to oranges on how the miles per gallon work. And then we'll go to my special little racetrack where we can do some quarter mile times without being bothered by Johnny Law. Along here on this relatively new grooved concrete pavement section of freeway, and it's basically clocking along at about 70 dB. Yeah, 70 dB. And as you expect from a stock Nissan Pathfinder, it's pretty darn quiet, so whether we're going uphill or downhill a little bit, you can of course hear the engine, but it doesn't really make any bearing at all on the actual sound load within the cabin. What a morning. Look at that. It's beautiful out there. Here we are at my favorite test track down in the south end of San Jose, California. It's a beautiful morning. It's about almost 45 degrees outside. We finished our miles per gallon run in the kind of initial kind of up and down, more hilly section of the freeway, cruising at 70. I was at 15.5 miles per gallon, and then for the later kind of cruising along the flats, that came up to 15.9 miles per gallon. And burn a full quarter tank of fuel in the name of science there, so hopefully that should be a nice solid number to compare against tomorrow morning when we have the new CAI on. Now we're going to do some kind of 0 to 60 and quarter mile times. I've got this app on my phone called Dynometer, and I don't know, I used to have a G-Tech Pro, which worked great for this kind of thing. It's my first time trying something that uses the accelerometer inside a smartphone, so I'm not really sure how well it's going to work, but hopefully it can at least, you know, do basic speed and 0 to 60 times and that kind of stuff without getting too funky. It uses both the accelerometer and also GPS to help back that up, so we'll see how accurate it is. I don't really care, honestly, if it's really correct as far as 0 to 60 or quarter mile time or whatever, but we really need, of course, to be consistent, because when we change something, we want to know if it's improved or not. So I'm going to do probably 3 runs and then sum things up for you at the end here. So just one more try.
14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Accelerate fast. 60 foot. 8 mile. Logging stopped. Quarter mile, 90 miles per hour, 16.34 seconds.
Not bad. So that's pretty consistent speed-wise. First run was 91 miles an hour, then 90, then 90, and right about 16.4-ish seconds. So I think 3 runs here definitely challenges the local constable's patience. Let's not push our luck, and let's head for home and install the new CAI. Okay, we are prepped for surgery. First, let's take a look at the Volant system parts here. This is the main intake tube. As I mentioned earlier, it's a beautifully molded piece. It's kind of got a nice pebble finish on the outside, and while there is a line where the seams are, if you look inside, let's see if I can get some good light somehow. But if you look inside, it is just nice and smooth as a baby's bottom in there. Really well finished. No complaints at all. And it's got a nice smooth taper down to the end. That's where your mass airflow sensor mounts on. Nice little brass fittings for the screws. A couple of intake hoses. And if we look here, basically it's going in like that, replacing the whole stock system and all its kind of different sized and different shaped pieces. Hopefully it'll improve airflow substantially. And then the end here, this huge trumpet end, goes inside the new airbox with the huge mega air cleaner. That's in here. This is the new airbox. And that is the crazy filter. Let me open this up so we can take a look. Oh my lord, look at this thing. Alright, so here's what it looks like. Oh my god, that thing's huge. Look at all those pleats. It's definitely how they claim to do 100,000 miles. I mean, it is huge, huge, huge. Okay, ready to go. We got lights. We got good working music. You have directions. Yes, I do actually read directions. 22 steps in all, but it looks relatively straightforward. Of course, I read through them first. You should too. 1, disconnect negative battery cable. For that, I need 10 mil. 2, remove engine cover by removing 2 10mm bolts. Really, that's it, just those 2 up front. Sweet. That always amazes me how small a V8 is. Sexy intake burners though. Wow, that's pretty cool. All plastic? Yep, all plastic. Well, this looks pretty straightforward. You know, here's the intake tube. Mass airflow sensor, a couple Phillipses. Yeah, it should be easy as pie. Alright. Step 3. Remove factory air box lid and filter. Air box this lid. Filter coming out. Looking a little dirty. Not bad, but a little dirty. I guess I want me to take the whole airbox lid off. Let's just go for it. Okay. There we go. Alright, let me get this little connector off. Oh, easy. Push down on the center part. Just pull back. Easy as pie. Alright. Mass airflow sensor. Oh, we got one more piece over here. Some breather tube. Go. Don't just toss this. The mass airflow sensor in there is super delicate and super important. So we're on step 4 here. Remove 2 10mm bolts holding airbox down. I see one. I see one. Oh, there it is. That's number 2. Number 2, one here and one inside the box. Note that this kit is actually part numbered out for the larger V8 Nissans. So we're talking the Titan, the Armada, and the QX56. So I am presuming this is going to fit. One of the other forum members have tried it and he didn't see any problems or anything. But it's technically a slightly smaller, narrower engine bay than this larger, also V8 equipped cousins. Come on. Bugger. There is a third 10mm bolt down in the front. You can't miss it. If you try to pull the box out, it'll be obvious. But it's going to be a bit of a bitch till you can't get a socket on. Oh, come on. For the love of God. There it goes. Whew. And that's the airbox, and here is that bolt that was giving me grief. It's going through a rubber grommet down into the metal frame around the wheel well. This is the normal intake. It actually pulls air in behind the fender liner, up above the left wheel. Disconnect the step 5. Disconnect the factory map by unclipping it. Already did that. And we remove the whole cover, right? It's kind of out of order. Remove 2 breather hose lines from air duct. Hello? Oh, here. Oh, is that it? Huh, interesting. So there's this little like reservoir here of air, and then there's these 2 breather lines. And those go down to the valve covers. So I'll bet you $20 these are like PCV valves, positive crankcase ventilation valves. It allows blow-by that's blowing past the pistons to come up through the oil system and burp out essentially into the intake and get reburned. So, yeah, one goes back to each of the valve covers. So I need a pair of pliers and for these nice spring clips, very nice spring clips. And we'll take those off. No problem. 60,000 miles and still supple. Come on, you. This one a little less, but not bad. Not bad at all. Cool. Step 7. Loosen clamp holding duct to throttle body and air box. It? Oh, that's it. Huh, let's hold that on. It's got a funky little attachment in the bottom here. I'm guessing that's either a last ditch water catch or just kind of the harmonic system to try to quiet down and dampen the sound of the intake. And same thing for this guy, that would definitely help dampen the sound, kind of like a muffler. And then this thing, you know, I mean, it's got all sorts of fluting inside it for that flexible connection, and that's totally gonna mess with airflow. So this new system hopefully will be much, much sexier. All right, step 8, remove duct. Okay, yeah. Step 9, remove mass airflow sensor by removing 2 screws set aside for reinstallation. No problem. So to remember the polarity here, the 2 bumps on top for the connector goes up, right? It goes like this. So when putting it on, don't flip it around backwards and put this on backwards because it could cause some sort of weird airflow metering problem. I don't know. I'm gonna be careful. Pull up on airbox to remove from vehicle. I did that already. That's done. Remove remaining 10mm bolt from fender well. Step 11. What? Remaining 10mm bolt. I have no idea what it's talking about. I see various grounding wires and shit. Alright, well, we'll find out when we proceed further. Or maybe I already got it. Maybe that was the 3rd bolt holding the airbox in. Maybe I didn't have to remove one of them and something would have popped off. But I took all 3 out, so all 3 are gone. Alright, step 14. We're more than halfway there. Thread the 8mm bumper into the lower mounting hole on the wheel well. Small parts. This is a nice silicone reduction piece. Presumably it's going to go on here. Cool. And a couple hose clamps. Alright, in our little parts bag, these are the breather hookups for these guys. And there's a rubber gasket for the mass airflow sensor. Alright, I've got several toys in here. What? There's no way that's gonna fit. Let's try it again. This is the kind of shit that I will definitely edit out. Alright, well now I think we're having fitment problems related to big V8s versus wee little V8s. Come on. Come on now. Where the fuck is it? None of the holes that hold the airbox in place fit. And certainly the gasket to connect the fender well also does not even remotely cover the gap. So I think it's a basic problem here of Titan versus Pathfinder. Or Armada versus Pathfinder, however you want to phrase it. So I'm going to move on with the directions to fit in the intake tube and the intake, and then kind of leave it for pondering on how I want best to proceed. Whether I leave this floating, just to kind of for heat protection for the engine, or I just ditch the airbox entirely and leave the cleaner here. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But time to start moving forward, because it definitely doesn't line up. Really tight. There we go. You know, I could just install it like this. It is tempting. Alright, so the bottom line is that the Volant airbox, the airbox essentially between the larger V8 Nissans and the smaller V8 Nissan Pathfinder, is substantially different. None of the screw holes for the airbox line up to fit, and the seal that would go between the side of the airbox and the fender, where it normally sucks the air from, unless you put a huge amount of foam on it, it's never going to seal up anything. You're not going to be sucking cold air from the fender well. So, the question is do I kind of leave the box in here for giggles, or do I ditch it? And I think I'm just going to ditch it. Yes, technically I'll be sucking in warmer air from the engine bay, but I don't think that'll be a huge issue, honestly. So, it certainly simplifies things dramatically. So that's how I'm going to proceed. And let's see where we go from here. So that's what I'm going to do next. Is I'm kind of going out of order on the directions here. Basically what we need to do is, I've got everything test fit right now. So hose clamp, hose clamp, hose clamp, mass airflow sensor, connect it, and then get these two breather tubes hooked up. Should be pretty straightforward. And then we're good to go. Okay, so let's take this back apart. Mega Super Duty air cleaner. Let's get the mass airflow sensor in this guy. So this gasket is even keyed slightly. See that little kind of notch there? Same thing with this guy. It's got that little notch right there. And again, plus remember the bumps on top of the connector go up. It's just perfect. Mostly perfect. Ah, this will help fit a little better. There's a stock gasket on the mass airflow sensor. I'm going to take that baby off. It really wasn't fitting flush with the second gasket. There, that's better. All right. Tight hose clamp. Alright, next hose clamp. I'm going to leave this one a little loose to start with. So I can adjust the angle and kind of get things just right. Don't forget to tighten it up. big air conditioning line is huge. I'll probably just zip tie right to it to kind of keep it from wobbling around too much. Put the air cleaner on the end. Alright. It's going to be a little interesting. Sure the clamp is in the groove all the way around, even where you can't see it. Nice and tight. That's pretty darn huge. Alright. Airflow sensor. Use its pi. See, I want to grab it differently. No, it's just not. Alright, now these breather tubes. Ooh, that's pretty tight. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on it, just engine oil. It's a PCV system, so it's going to have engine oil vapor anyway. Just to help that slide on a little better. Easy as pie. Okay. They didn't give any extra clamps, so my guess here is they're trusting the barbs on these guys to be good enough to hold it on, and there isn't a huge pressure in it, so that's probably fine. And then we need to move these spring clamps all the way to the end here, because there's no barb on the plastic coming off here. It's on. Hose number 2. Now, move these clamps out. There we go. One. Two. All right. This one has a nice little spot in the front of the cover to attach onto. This one just sits right there. It'll probably get held on by the engine cover. I'm going to zip tie into this AC line. It's also nicely covered with rubber too, to make sure nothing abrades against each other. zip tie wrap. Reasonably solid. This hose here, if you can see it, doesn't actually go anywhere. It's just a breather, I think, for the front differential. Just need, it used to be clipped on the side of the airbox. Just, you know, attach it somewhere. And I would suggest on the fender, not on the engine, so it's not moving. So I'm just gonna go right here. Just to keep it out of the way. Alright, last but not least, tighten things up. Tight, nice and tight, nice and tight. Alright, it's not going anywhere. Cool. Alright, so we left off the directions list when we threaded the 8mm bumper into the lower mounting hole in the wheel well and then test fit the Volant box, the air box, and it didn't fit, right? That was step 14. Step 15 is place the air box position tightened down. Ha! Forget that. Then various slide air box. If you're not connecting ram scoop, attach the cap at the bottom, doesn't matter. Press the mass airflow gasket on the mass airflow sensor and tighten the sensor to the air duct. Reattach harness and sensor, yep. Attach the two breather hoses to the air duct. Press the fittings in the hoses and attach the factory fittings in the open end of the fittings, yeah, okay. Attach lid with truss, doesn't matter. Reattach the battery cable. And lastly, we have before road testing, start engine. And they want you to check for air leaks and stuff and snug everything up. Let's fix that. That looks dumb. I'm going to back out this connection. And then there's this one right here. There. Doesn't that look better? Isn't that nicer? Much better. Okay. So let's fire it up before we put the engine cover on and make sure everything looks peachy. Man, you can totally hear the air sucking by the throttle body as you pop it open and it goes. Cool shit. All right, well, we'll see what it sounds like when it's actually on the road. But let's get the engine cover on. And I'm going to kind of test drive all day. But you're going to get to hear this tomorrow morning when I go out freaking early in the morning and do the same miles per gallon test run, the same dB meter test to see how loud it is on the road, and the same quarter-mile run in the same spot tomorrow morning. So I'll talk to you tomorrow. Well, good morning. It's first thing Sunday morning. We're about ready to go out and do our second round of testing. Yesterday, finished off the whole cold air intake install. As you saw in the video, there were a couple of minor issues. The air box really didn't quite fit right and that kind of stuff. But on the whole, it went pretty smoothly, went pretty quickly. And actually, the rest of the day, yesterday, I went driving around just having fun with it. And man, if nothing else, it sounds incredible. It sounds so good and not too loud. When you're just cruising along, and just as you heard me pulling out of the garage here, and as you hear me driving out a little bit, you know, it sounds just totally normal up until about maybe 1/3 throttle or so. But when you dip into the throttle, then it kind of snarls and you unleash the, you know, Mercedes AMG V8 sound from under the hood, and it just boom, and it just, oh man, it's hopefully the microphone on my little tablet here will pick it up well enough, and be sure to turn the bass up on whatever you're listening to on this, because it sounds really fantastic. As far as my butt dyno goes, I don't really notice a huge performance difference, so we'll find out when we actually do the real timed runs. Hopefully maybe a little bit improvement or something. I mean, it's a cold air intake, you know, it's not a supercharger or something, it's really minor. So hopefully a little bit of performance increase, and hopefully a little bit of miles per gallon increase. Dogs of war. Okay, man. Relatively new, smooth, grooved concrete surface here in Cupertino. Let's punch up my sound meter app. There we are. Yeah, and as before, and as you can probably tell just from the video, cruising along, there is no sound difference at all. My yakking boosts up to 80, almost 90 dB, but as cruising along, it's just 70 dB. nice, quiet Pathfinder interior cruising on the freeway. Here we come, right at the end of our test here. It's just that overpass up there is where I stopped it. We're at 15.9 miles per gallon right now, which is exactly the same as before. We were at 16.2 just before the last overpass, and just clipped down. Fingers crossed, come on. You can make it. I know it's better in there. It's just averaging. Come on, come on. Here comes the overpass. No! 15.9. Unless it goes up right now. Right now. Right this very second before this uphill section. Come on. Alright. 15.9. That's kind of a head scratcher. So the first segment that we drove, we were up by 0.9 miles per gallon. And then the second segment, we were only up by, what was it? It was 0.7. And then after the driving on the flats, we were up by 0. I think it was 15.9. I'll go back and check the tape. It was 15.9 at the end. We were only up by 15.9 at the end of the first time we did the test. So after the entire loop, essentially it was the same. It really seems like it was positive a bit, especially in the more kind of hilly up and down terrain, which would kind of make some sense, right? Because the more smooth intake can probably suck in air more efficiently, especially when you're asking for more air, i.e. going uphill a little bit and then coasting down a bit and uphill a little bit. Whereas the flats here, where there's a really teeny throttle opening, it didn't seem to affect it much. So, I don't know. Seems like it improved a little bit, but let's go do some quarter mile times and see what we get from a performance standpoint. All right, well, hey, here, you want to see outside? It is another beautiful morning here in South San Jose. I don't know if you can see the kind of mist over the fields out there. It is very, very beautiful. Back to my favorite test track. It's about 49 degrees outside, so maybe about 4 or 5 degrees warmer than yesterday. That shouldn't be a huge issue. It's not a big difference. We were a little disappointed in the miles per gallon numbers, but let's see if we get something interesting from how much power we get. Loading the app Dyno Master on my Android smartphone. All right, well, it's good to go. VDC off, and drive, parking brake off.
14, 13, 12, 11,
Oh, stop.
10, logging stopped.
Forgot. It was definitely way cooler when we had the sound coming through the sound system, so you could actually hear it. That was pretty nifty. Okay.
14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Accelerate fast. 60 foot. 8 miles. Logging stopped. Quarter mile, 83 miles per hour, 16.19 seconds.
What? It said 16.19 seconds. It's about a tenth of a second quicker. But so the miles per hour was only 84. That doesn't make any sense.
Logging stopped. Quarter mile, 89 miles per hour, 16.35 seconds.
Well, that number exactly.
Logging stopped. Quarter mile, 91 miles per hour, 15.9 seconds.
Whoa! No way. 15.9? That's what I'm talking about. Woo! Damn it. All right. We're going to have to tempt fate and try it one more time. Here we go for all the marbles.
14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Accelerate fast. 60 foot. Logging stopped. Quarter mile, 88 miles per hour, 16.06 seconds.
So let's recap while we enjoy this beautiful morning out here. The sound is incredible. I hope you can hear it, and it's picked up by the microphone on the little tablet. But it's just, let me just assure you, it's incredible. Quarter mile time seemed to go down by about maybe 0.2 of a second, which is a pretty good result actually for just a cold air intake. You know, going from 16.3, 16.4 down to more like 16.0, 16.1. That's it's a great improvement. Good stuff. So is it worth $200 to $300? Well, that's up to you. But to me, as a general gearhead kind of guy, man, just for the sound alone, it's well worth it. Well worth it. Ha! I'm back. And you thought it was over. So, I got to thinking, you know, this massive PowerCore air filter is so awesome, but, you know, they say it's going to last for 100,000 miles. Maybe that's true, maybe it isn't. I have no idea. Depends how you drive, of course, over those 100,000 miles. And I go off-roading and do all sorts of dirty stuff. So, you know, what I really want is some way to know when to change this filter. So, what I'm going to do is I ordered up a kit from AEM. Part number, what was this thing? Part number K305111. 10 psi filter minder. It reads out what the vacuum is, and you mount this up somewhere, you know, between the filter, and probably best to do between the filter and the mass airflow sensor, and then you'll know how much restriction it is, because it's going to read the vacuum as it's sucking air through here. And as you can see, now it says you need to change it, and you just reset it back. Done. Now the whole kit has all these parts and stuff, and to do like a remote mounting somewhere, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of file down the little barb on the end of this a little bit and drill a hole and just mount her right on. And a little bit of epoxy to make a nice seal and make it nice and tight. And there we go. I'll know when to change my filter in some hopefully long away future date. So first thing I'm going to do, again, this is barb for like a vacuum line, but I'm just going to kind of round the barb off a bit because I'm going to drill it and put it through the hard plastic of the air intake. All right, Dremel work done. So this is ready to go. Let's take the cleaner off here. All right, filter's off. Still looking beautiful. All right. I'm going to mount it. There's lots of clearance. Could really mount it anywhere. I could just like do it on top. But I guess I'm going to be looking at it at an angle slightly. And when I go flat in the plastic, so we have a nice flat surface between this plastic and this plastic. So I'm going to go like about there. Let me find the right drill. Let me find the right drill bit here. Definitely don't want to do it too big. It's too small. It's too small. All right, I'm going to start with 1/8 of an inch and see how it goes from there. About there. Okay. Don't forget to wipe out the plastic shavings that you can on the inside as much as you can. All right, got a nice little hole right there. And let's see how she fits. I think it's just about right because I want to be able to. I want to force it in slightly so it's got a nice tight fit. So the glue is primarily just kind of sealing it. Let me set you back up over here. Yeah, I think that's going to work perfectly. Yep. Yeah, nice and tight. So there's a little ridge of plastic poking up here from the drilling process that's keeping the base of this from really mating nice and flush. So I'm going to fix that by using a cone grinding bit. Don't want to take away much material. See how that works. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Okay, now we need a little epoxy. All right, let's get this done. Alright, just mixed up some epoxy. Really don't need much. Don't spooge it all over, right? You don't want to accidentally plug up the hole. I'm going to put a little bit around the shaft here. Probably not much danger really in plugging up the hole unless you go crazy. And a little bit more around the base here. Let's do a little bit more. You really want to make sure this seal's good. Here we go. That's spiffy. Wipe that off. And here we go. Splut. I'm going to wipe the inside of the nipple just to make sure I didn't get any spooge on this side. So again, don't plug the hole. It's like it's all nice and clean. So I'm just going to hold it here for 5 minutes. Wow, it's still pretty soft. It's getting there though. Yeah, probably let go of it at this point. Looks like it drooled down a little bit. So I'm going to add an extra dollop on the top to really make sure it's sealed. It'll kind of run down around the stem, make it nice and tight. Add some extra footprint to kind of keeping it stable so it's not wiggling around. Gonna let it sit for an hour, and we will call it done. The full curing time is 12 hours, but I think it'll be fine. All right, let's see how we're doing. Oh, nice and tight. Excellent. That's not going nowhere. Cool. Let's go ahead and get the filter back on, and I think we're done. Come on now. There we go.